What's up, YTPC? Scotty P here. Got a few things for you today. It's a nice Saturday. A little overcast, but it's warm. It's a little windy. It's sunny enough, and not bad for Connecticut in the summer. Got a few things for you today. First, let me get this out of the way, and this will kind of start the number one of the few things. Smoking my Peterson Atlantic bent billiard, which is my jazziest pipe so far. It's a blue pipe, and it's got a green swirly stem, which most of my pipes aren't so jazzy, so I got one now. Anyway, it's a great smoker. In it, I'm smoking some GLPs, Stonehenge Flake, and if you've been watching my Instagram at all, you've seen that I've been smoking a lot of it lately, because I really enjoy it. So I'm going to do one of my little half-ass reviews with a little twist. Just to give you an option. Let me explain. Stonehenge Flake has Virginia's and Burley and Perique, and it's what do they say? It's steamed and pressed and blah blah blah. Not like a really in-depth review guy. I'll give you my opinions on stuff, but I'm still a newbie, so rather than waste your time with all the mechanics and this and that, yada yada. There are much better people, more qualified people to review things than I am. But I think I have a little bit different of a take on this than some of the things I've been seeing. So, it's a Lakeland tobacco. It's not super Lakeland, like Gareth Hogarth's Ennerdale Flake or anything like that. Or Bob's Chocolate Flake or any of those deals. And if you've been watching my channel, you'll know that I kind of like the Lakelands. I've been smoking a lot of Sam Gawith's and Gareth Hogarth lately, and I dig the whole thing. So it's not a turn-off for me, but it's a turn-off for some of you all. So, while I think that this is an outstanding tobacco, I'm going to give you an option if you don't like Lakelands. Savinelli's Doblon d'Oro is a very similar blend. It's, in my opinion, not as smooth or as balanced as Stonehenge Flake is, but it acts in a similar manner as far as the taste goes and everything like that, without the Lakeland. So, if you've been meaning to try Stonehenge Flake, but you definitely don't like Lakeland, or if you bought Stonehenge Flake and you don't like the Lakeland, trade it with somebody for some Doblon d'Oro, and you might be happier. If it's, if that's just the big turnoff for you, if you liked it otherwise. So that's my take on it. The Doblon d'Oro is not quite as balanced, I'd say. It's a little, probably a little more burly in it, if that makes sense. That's the way it seems to me. So I like them both. I like Stonehenge a little better. But again, like I said, I'm a Lakeland guy. So that's the deal. Second reason why I'm coming to you today is a VR for ViTheSamurai and his giveaway. He asked us, who do we look up to? And there's not one person in particular that I look up to. There's three. My grandfathers and my father. So, let's start with my grandfathers. My grandfather on my father's side, the Italian one, passed when I was younger. Had a stroke, an aneurysm, he was in a coma, and he passed away when I was 10 years old. But I remember growing up, going to his house a lot, and on Sundays he would make pasta fresh and sauce. I still remember how to make the sauce, but I was too young to really grasp the whole fresh made pasta thing and hanging it. And he'd hang it off the handle from the oven and dry it out and all that stuff. But I remember how to make his sauce. I still make it the same way. And he was a tough guy. Not in a bad way. Just he was an army medic in World War II, a heavily decorated one, although he didn't talk about it, so not really sure, why he got all those medals, or why he came home with a katana. but he did. And so anyway, one of those stories where he just didn't talk about it. Anyway, but a real solid guy, and much like with my other grandfather, when he passed, there were a ton of people at his wake. So it's a testament to what kind of a person he was. People lined up around the block and stuff in front of the memorial home, and at the funeral. And I still remember, being a young man and the 21 gun salute and the folding of the flag. It was the first time I ever saw that, and it made an impression on me. And that's he's the reason why I joined the Army. So there's that. It's an explanation for that. There's a little window into Scotty P in my past. My other grandfather was also in World War II, but he was in the Navy, and he was in Gitmo. So, he wasn't a combat vet. He was a vet, and he was also a very, very solid guy. And another guy who, when he passed, his wake was amazing. And this was when I was an adult, and this was about 8-10 years ago, something like that. But I mean, there was people at his wake that were ex-Secret Service guys and ex-FBI guys, and one of the Secret Service guys was one of the guys that guarded the president. And if you watch specials on Secret Service and stuff, he might be one of those guys talking where they put his name down there, and I don't want to say his name because it's just not cool. But anyway, that grandfather taught me how to drive. He was Irish and English, and I spent a lot of. He was the one that lived up in the Cape. If you watch my video with the road trip to the Cape Cod, and so I used to go up there for summers, and he let me take his car and drive around before I had a license. Just to learn how to do it. So I'd be driving around, or as he would say, tooling around the Cape in a little BMW sports car, standard transmission. Stalling it out and driving around rotaries and driving like a maniac and having fun and all that stuff. But just another solid guy, another great American, and we'd have great conversations, even when I was a young man, and he was always interested in what I had to say. And just one of the guys who shaped how I am and how I want to act and how I strive to act. Which brings me to my father. And my father's still with us. If you follow me, I golf with him a couple times a week, and we hang out. And he's a great guy. He's one of my best friends, and he always has, and always will be. And he's retired now. He did a similar job to what I do. He delivered Entenmann's cake for decades, and before that, and now with what I do, I run into some of the guys that have known him for since I was a little kid running around, and they always say the same thing: is that he was a true gentleman on the job, and always the first one to help out if you needed help, or before you even asked. And so another guy that I try to emulate, and I always say the same thing to those guys, is that he is a great guy. The more I could be like him, the better off I'm going to be, the better person I'm going to be, and that's what I strive for, is to be like those guys. So, not to get too sappy here, and before I get too sappy, that's what I try to be in life, and that's what I'll always try to be, is like those three guys. So anyway, folks, that's my video for the week, for the weekend, and I'll be back soon. July's a little tough for me, so if I've been slow to get back to you on comments or whatever, it's just a lot of golf tournaments and a lot of work and everything like that. So A lot of potato chips go into barbecues and things like that. So, anyway, folks, have a great rest of the weekend. And this is Scotty P saying, oh, the reason why I say salute, folks, is because my father and my grandfather, the Italians, you know, so another little tidbit for you is why I say salute.